Hi everyone, this is the Vintage Sewing Machine Garage. This is the video, or the follow-up video to my bobbin winding tire video, where I was explaining to you all some of the things that can cause issues with the bobbin winder engaging with the hand wheel. You're now seeing from the side what I showed in the last video from the front. And you can see when I pull up on here, the spring is good and strong. It holds the lever in place, and you can see the bobbin tire here moving. Now, what you may also notice, of course, is that if you have any of these friction pulley drive machines, these are machines that have motors. Instead of using belts, they use a pulley that is attached to the end of the drive shaft, and it has a little rubber tire on the end. Now, unlike the tire on the bobbin winder, this one is attached to the pulley, and if you ever need to replace one, the pulley will come with it. So I don't rip the tire off and put a new one on like I do with the bobbin winder. But the same principle of friction applies here. And this motor, all of these motors of this type, are incredible. They are mounted to the machine on a spring, and that spring has quite a lot of power, believe it or not. But part of the key to the success of this machine being so powerful is that you want the friction, thus the name friction drive. It uses the rubber on the end of the pulley, or the tire if you will, and of course it's going to want to stick to this hand wheel, which has this beautiful chrome rim, and you wouldn't think that they would do that. So one of the first things you're going to do, we've already taken care of the bobbin winder tire, so we'll take that down for a moment. And we are going to, I'm going to give you guys another view. I want you to have a close-up view of this bobbin winder, not bobbin winder, I'm sorry, the friction pulley. Okay guys, I've got the camera facing down because if you get good light like I have today, the sun has come out, thank goodness, and I'm getting this wonderful indirect sunlight, which I really like for trying to get things to show up here for you. Now, we're going to zoom in. Now, this pulley, I showed all of you in another video on how to change the pulley and what's involved. It's very simple, easy to get to. The pulley that I had on this particular white rotary, I did not need to replace it because it's in remarkably good shape. However, when I got it, and you can see where it's been used, but there are no flat areas, okay? That's not a flat area. When I put my fingers on it, it's smooth all the way around. There's no flat spots. Now, one of the things you want to do, let's say you just got one of these and you're trying to figure it out. Let's zoom in even more. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the hand wheel, and as I do, you're going to see the pulley friction piece move. Now this pulley moves in this direction, and now you'll see it moving. Now you notice when I went to first do that, it was slipping, and now you see it slipping again, guys? Okay. When that happens, the first thing you want to do is inspect your pulley your pulley end here, the piece with the rubber on it. You want to look and see if there are any cracks in it. And I don't see any cracking, which would tell me that it was dry rotted or in the process of going bad, because rubber oxidizes over time, right? So even though she's sticking, I'm not seeing cracks. Then take your fingers and touch it. Does it feel soft? And by soft, I don't mean like a pillow, but does it feel brittle, or does it have kind of a soft feel that you expect when you touch something made of rubber? This feels nice and soft. It's not like foam, but it has that little softness that rubber should have. However, I don't know if you guys can see this, but there's a little sheen there. And what that says is in the process of going through this machine and oiling it, I must have gotten oil onto the hand wheel. Now over time, you may get oil on a hand wheel just with, you may have oil on your hands and you touch the hand wheel, and then that oil transfers to the rubber pulley, and then the rubber pulley is doing the best it can, but remember, it's designed to work with friction, and you've just added oil to the mix. So let's move the camera here. Okay guys, I've gotten you a different position because I want you to see the hand wheel and what can typically happen. Now, let's say you are working on the machine and you're cleaning it or you're oiling your machine and you forget and you get sewing machine oil on your hands and then you touch the wheel. Well, now you've got oil on the hand wheel, which is going to transfer to your friction pulley and also to your bobbin tire down here. And this is going to be a very easy fix, okay? So if this ever happens to you, and you think, hey, is my motor not working? Why am I, is my spring failed? These springs are beefy. Now, I'm not saying it couldn't fail, but this machine is a 1940s machine, and it's got plenty of spring tension to hold this motor onto the hand wheel. So what we are going to do is we are going to clean these, and I still have the clutch knob disengaged, so the needle shouldn't be moving. It's almost as if you were going to wind a bobbin, only we're not. And I will show you how we do this. Now I've got the bobbin winder tire off of the machine for now, but we will actually give it its own little cleaning here in a second. But right now I'm going to take rubbing alcohol that you guys see me use a lot. It's great, makes a great cleaning solvent, but as I have also mentioned to you, you see my cotton swabs we're going to use in a minute. Alcohol is very powerful, and it will harm the beautiful varnished and stained finishes of your tables, and it will also eat right through the paint of most sewing machines. So I am putting down several layers of this cotton here, just as, I'm not going to be swabbing tons of alcohol, but if anything drips or splatters, I want it to be caught. It's really going to not make your day. You're trying to do one thing to the machine, you end up harming something else needlessly. So the alcohol works, but again, there's my little trusty jar there. I don't need the jar right over here, so I'm going to set it on my work table. You can use any clean cloth, okay? It's extra important that the cloth you use be clean. Now this is what you're looking at here is essentially I do test stitching on my machines all the time, and eventually I fill up the cloth and I use these little remnants to clean my machine with. I don't want to be wasteful. Now I'm going to take, make sure I've got like I say, a clean cloth here. I'm going to dip it in a little I'll put it here just so you guys can see what I'm up to. I'm going to take it and I'm going to dip it into the alcohol. Again, let it kind of soak into the cloth. Never spray liquids on your machine unless you have a Kenmore outside like I do, and I'm trying to save it. That's different. But you never want to spray. Put any liquids you use on your sewing machines on a cloth and then apply them. Now, my machine is plugged in, and I am going to start. Now, the pulley engaged, but I know that it's got some oil on it, right? So now I'm just going to take the wet area here, and I'm not putting a lot of force here. I'm just holding this cloth dampened with alcohol on the hand wheel. Now, you're not really going to see anything. The hand wheel was clean, but it is going to be pulling off lubricant, oils. You can't really see a lot of these oils when they're on the, I'm going to dip my little rag here again. You really can't see those oils most of the time, especially on chrome. Now, if this were black lacquer, you might, but then of course if it was black lacquer, you wouldn't want to be putting alcohol on this. Okay, let's give it another run. And again, you don't need to press hard. You're just basically pressing enough to get the surface of that rim wet. Now, we're not done yet because we're going to use a little something else for the rubber pulley. I want to make sure you guys can see what I'm doing. I'm going to zoom in here. Some of those odd things, you're trying to do it and photograph at the same time. Now, in order to do this, you don't want to crank your motor back because then you won't have it spinning. Remember, it provides motive power to the hand wheel. Now you can see it moving here on its own, right? So I'm going to find what I call my little shim. And I'm just going to take, this is another piece of folded cloth I've used for test stitching. And again, don't crank the motor all the way back. It doesn't have to go to its extreme. You know, give the spring a break. It's been working hard all these years. It doesn't need to go to the maximum amount. Now, I'm going to go back with my alcohol rag. I've just dipped it in alcohol again. Now, I'm going to go ahead and run this over the hand wheel. No, I'm not. I'm going to turn the hand wheel manually. Over the alcohol. Let's pan back out because I just sent all of you guys flying here. Hold on. Here we go. And I'm having to kind of do this on the inside of the wheel because I don't want my hands on the rim of the wheel. Okay, so I've gotten the oil off the wheel. And I have my pulley. I had to do this manually because remember, with the pulley not touching the hand wheel's not going to move. Now, you knew there were going to be cotton swabs involved in this, guys. I think we are keeping the cotton swab business afloat with our restorations. Okay, so I've gotten cotton swabs here. See if I can find, I really, really, really like these tapered ones. They typically have denser cotton, and if you don't, just use the ones you have. It's not, it's not a tragedy or anything here, but I'm gonna start with one of these, and I will dip this into the alcohol. And when I do that, again, you don't want it dripping, and just get it. You can even squeeze some out. You're not going to need a ton of alcohol here. Now, I am going to hold this cotton swab against my rubber pulley drive. And remember, I've gotten it in alcohol. Now you can cut. This is 91% alcohol. You can probably use the lower concentration. I think it comes in 50%. That would still should suffice, okay? You don't want to use a lot on this. And watch your rubber. This rubber is good and healthy. Typically, solvents are not good for rubber. This alcohol will dry really quickly. I haven't had a trouble using it, but you don't have to have if you don't have the 91% for something like this, it's okay. Take the 50% that you have and you can use that. Okay, so I'm gonna now, and you don't have to do this at lightning speed either. So I'm applying the knee pedal, and I'm going to hold your cotton swab, hold it really firmly in your hand, okay, and then just start touching, right? It almost reminds me of the way people who are doing pottery, they sometimes put their hands on the clay, right? But watch what I'm doing, guys. I'm just rolling this around and making sure I'm getting you want to get the whole tire. Now I'll come over on the dry side and do the same thing. Hold the cotton swab firmly in your hand or it'll go flying. Now, the reason I like to shim and keep the pulley off of the hand wheel is because if you don't, what you may find is that you don't want the cotton swab to get jammed down in there, right? It'll just make your life less fun. Okay, now I want us to zoom back in, and I want you to see the surface of this pulley tire, pulley drive, friction drive, okay? That little bit of glossy sheen that was on there because of the oil is now gone, and that alcohol will dry really quickly. Now, we have one more area that we want to check, because remember, if we had oil on the hand wheel, it's also going to transfer to, yes, you guessed it, the new bobbin winding tire we just put on the machine. Okay guys, for your bobbin winding tire, you can do this one of two ways. You can take the tire off and simply, you don't need to submerge it in alcohol. That's extreme. You don't want to weaken the rubber unnecessarily. But remember, I don't have a bobbin on this shaft over here, where it normally would be if we were winding one. So I'm just going to take my swab, I'm going to put it in some of this alcohol, and this is a lot less dramatic. But all I'm going to do is, you can see here I've got the swab here, and I'm going to simply turn. I'll do 1/2 of the tire. This half you can see, right? I'm just going to come around. There shouldn't be a terrible amount, but it only takes a little bit of oil or grease on rubber to totally ruin it for the purposes of friction. And you guys would know this if you've ever had to drive over anything slippery in your car. Your tires are designed to grip when they are clean and dry, ideally. Now, you will see on the first run I have a little bit of black. Some of that is just residue from the new tire. If you were doing this on an older, say the old friction pulley I was, because I think I forgot to mention you guys, on that friction pulley back here, here's my finger, you will see some of this black, and part of that is I had some old dust and dirt on there that I had not cleaned, and sometimes as rubber ages, the surface of the rubber will degrade, and you can actually pull that off, and underneath the rubber is still healthy. So I think I have quite a few years left with this pulley drive before I have to get a new one. But getting a new one's not tough. So I've shown you guys that in the parts video. Now, so what I'll do is I'll get one more cotton swab run here, and this time I'm still going to turn, just manually turn, how can I do this where you guys can see? Manually turn my bobbin tire. The tire sort of has an arch shape to it. It's not completely flat. And I'm just making sure that there's no oil that, I have clumsily touched this, getting it on, make sure I didn't have any oil on my hands. And didn't really see, much of anything come off there. A little bit. Okay. These parts, the bobbin winding tire, the rim of the hand wheel, I'm going to change the angle so you can see a little bit more. So now we've got the rim of the hand wheel, we've got the bobbin tire, and we've got the friction pulley drive. All of these parts should be clean and relatively free of oil and any other contaminant that will interfere with their friction. And right now, there's one thing left to do before I start using these parts again. Well, in case you haven't guessed, guys, I went and washed my hands to make sure I didn't have any oil on them. Now, in the course of doing things during the day, or you're sewing, we all, we get oils and things on our hands just naturally. We pick up stuff. And I would not use sanitizing products to clean your hands, and definitely not use them on the machines, because those contain, in addition to alcohol, I'm referring to the things people, the sanitizing gels people use on their hand to prevent colds, but those things have emollients, and they have other products in them besides the alcohol that could end up causing the same problem that sewing machine oil did here. So let's take a look. I am going to, first thing we'll do is I'll engage the bobbin tire, and as soon as I apply the controller, well, I would like to take the shim off the motor so it can run. I like you guys to see me do this so you don't feel bad if you do this. Now, we have a clean friction pulley. We have a clean bobbin tire, and let's see what happens when I apply the controller. I don't know if you guys can see this, but when I first apply the controller, here I go, both wheels are turning immediately. There's no slipping, there's no hesitancy like I was getting before. This tire is nice and soft, but even a new soft tire cannot have oil on it and run properly. Now here I am. And there she is, full out, guys. That's like race car speed. Now lower it down. These motors are just incredible, aren't they? So powerful. So again, if you ever get one of these machines and you're not getting what you're seeing here, either your friction pulley needs replacement, or like mine, it just needed some cleaning, and it needed me to pay attention to the fact that I had gotten oil on it. There was some dirt and dust and old who knows what on the tire I needed to clean anyway, and then make sure that the hand wheel is clean. Now, if you have most all of these have a chrome piece here. If you ever have an issue, other machines that have lacquered painted hand wheels, you're not necessarily going to have a friction pulley, but you may still have an issue with your bobbin tire. And basically, if you have paint here, you would not use alcohol to clean it. But you could simply use, one of the easiest things to use would simply be take a rag and dampen it. Not soaking wet, but dampen it with a little soapy water, and that will help pull any oils off of a lacquered painted finish, like you see with a lot of the old Singers. They have that beautiful black lacquer, and that's how the hand wheels are painted, particularly as you get into the 40s and 50s, and they moved away from their own version of chrome trims on their hand wheels. And down here, as I showed you. But anyway, in those machines, you'll definitely want to make sure that your bobbin tire is not dry rotted and it is clean. Isn't it interesting what just a little clean will do for a machine? This is true with most of the machines I overhaul. I spend so many hours trying to wake them up because they have gone without service, they've gone without adjustment, and they've gone without just basic cleaning. And it's just exciting to see them come to life. And now this machine is operating at full power. I could sew garment leather with this. I could sew denim, and it will go right through it and make a beautiful stitch to boot. So any chance I get to sing the praises of these old rotary machines, I really try to, because they just don't get the love and respect that some of the others do. And it's a real shame. I just think they are, to use that term, sleepers. And I think maybe one day people hopefully will appreciate them more and will demand and brag about the fact that they have a rotary, one of the old white rotary designs, even if it's posing as a Kenmore or a Domestic or a Dressmaster or Franklin or one of the other brands I've listed for you guys. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. I never dreamed I'd make a video about cleaning bobbin winder tire rubber, but there it is. And it looks like it makes a big difference here, and I think it will make a big difference for all of you, no matter what model machine you have, is to always do that. You know, it's part of troubleshooting. You just never know if a machine is not behaving. It could be for something this simple and certainly this inexpensive. And neither this bobbin winding tire or that friction pulley rubber piece, none of these things are expensive. You can get them online. They're relatively cheap. And in this setup with this machine, they're not hard to replace. So I hope that was helpful. I hope it inspired you to try if you've never worked on any of these machines before. If there's anything you don't feel like you can do, you can always reach out on one of the communities. There are lots of people online with vintage sewing machine groups, and they can also be a guide for you. But hang in there. Don't give up if you get stuck. And hope to see you next time in the next video. I don't know how many more I have left on this series, but we'll take a look, and eventually you will see a video with me showing this machine sewing and ready to go. Thank you all for watching.